Spent about 20 years treating trauma and assisting folks in their marriages. And I was not prepared for how my body was going to respond. I'm listening to more and more therapists every day who are saying things like, Virginia, like the craziest thing that's happening to me. Um, I was just diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. I can't tell you how many colleagues who have stayed in the field who've said things like they've watched their bodies eventually turn on them. I'll never forget, I was at a training, and during the training, it was a multidisciplinary training on psychedelics. And I'll never forget one of my colleagues there, who was a medical provider, said, Virginia, I'm wondering if you're not just grieving things in your own personal life. I'm wondering if your body is also just grieving and just holding on to all the grief that you've sat with all these years. And I have to say, I agree with them that I wasn't prepared for how the body overactivates after periods of time of being overactivated for so long. A lot of folks are aware of some of the research from the ACEs study, where, I mean, you could easily Google ACEs, and you fill out a handful of questions and it kind of lets you know what your ACE score is. And if you have above a certain number, they can literally predict these are the different types of disorders or illnesses that you'll have in the future. My ACEs score was high, but I'm pretty active. I weight train at least 3 times a week. I also walk my dog. I also Zumba, and I also play pickleball when I'm not doing Zumba. So I'm a pretty active person. Anybody who knows me knows my diet is pretty, it's an anti-inflammatory diet that I have stuck to for almost 14 years now and made different changes as I needed to become more and more close to following an anti-inflammatory diet. I drink lots of water, I stretch. So I felt like I'm doing all the right things. And so, I'm avoiding all of these things in terms of illnesses that my parents and my grandparents had had, which, include diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Like I have beat all of those different types of things at this point in time in my life. Hopefully that continues. So I was not planning or expecting my body to be overactive. Surprise, surprise, for those who know me and care about me, for my body to be overactive and to continuously try to fix even when everything's okay inside the nervous system. So it has been a very humbling experience for me. Again, thinking that I'm doing all of the right things. I'm avoiding this thing, I'm avoiding that thing. Okay, okay, I'm working through this thing, I'm working through that thing. And I find that a lot of times, sometimes that's my patients when they come in, specifically folks with trauma history. Myself would be included in that. My clients with trauma history say things like, Virginia, I thought that I was doing X, Y, and Z, and I thought that I was avoiding the pattern. So, for example, families who grew up with alcoholic parents, and then, the next thing, they find out that they're alcoholics as well. They're thinking, oh, I thought I did everything right. I chose a different career path. I did this different. I did this different, and only finding themselves repeating the pattern. And so, as a trauma therapist, I thought, oh, I'm doing all the right things. I know how not to repeat those patterns, and still found myself being sick. That is not, that's not fun. What it has done for me is it has provided me with greater empathy for those who thought that they were avoiding um, patterns from their past, patterns from their ancestors, and found that they were only ended up repeating them. I'm thankful that in addition to an autoimmune disorder, that I don't have diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I'm thankful that those things are not also with the autoimmune disorder. At the same time, I didn't get to avoid it. And so sometimes, I hear my clients talk about this, and I found myself saying this as well. Sometimes it can feel like, man, you feel like you're doing all the right things and that this is not fair. It's not fair. And then we have to do all the fun work of how to stay healthy, how to get healthy. So I'm doing all the things. I'm on all the supplements. I've been on all the supplements. My poor double-sided pill calendar has got to the point not only where it just has things in it every day. That's always been for years now, but now it's to the point where, particularly my morning supplements, that is now so much that I can't actually fit everything in there because I know I have medications on top of those supplements. That is not fun. It doesn't feel fair. And I just wanted to say all that and put it all out there to say that I get it, I get it, I get it. And I understand that there's a lot of work that's required to be able to find out how to have the best quality of life. So what does quality of life mean? I mean, obviously, for a perfect definition, you could definitely Google that. But essentially, quality of life is regardless of the situation that I'm in, regardless of the body that I'm in, I want to make sure, regardless of what, maybe our ancestors and those that came before us, that they have dealt with, and all of those genes and epigenetics are all sitting there inside of our nervous systems, all those things that we did not choose, that we still take care of our garden as it is. What can we do to help our garden today? So, like I said, I have increased my supplements. I have increased those times making sure that I indulge a little bit more in terms of self care. I'm buying the bougie lotion, I'm buying the bougie water because I'm at a place in this time in my life where my body just needs it. It just needs it. So I believe it's important for folks not only to have a coping plan, which I definitely have a coping plan, but I believe it's important to have a coping plan that covers your maintenance. So what do I mean by that? Maintenance coping plans are coping plans for things that you do just to get through your every single day. So for example, for me, I sleep about 7 hours a day. I have several supplements that I take on the regular. I walk my dog. I go outdoors. I play. I laugh. I spend time with folks that are supportive of me. And so these are things that I do when I'm well. When I'm not as well, leaning to kind of a little bit more towards that moderate distress, I am usually noticing I'm having more difficulty sleeping. I'm noticing that I probably need to increase some of my supplements, particularly those that help with managing stress. I notice during moderate distress that I usually need to increase the amount of fat and protein that I eat. So if I don't increase those things, and again, these are just things for me, not to say that this is a plan for you, but these are things that I know I need. If I don't increase that fat and protein first thing in the morning, then what I notice is throughout the day, I'm seeking it from like quick things. And I'm like, ooh, that's not what I want to do for myself either. Um, my notice that I usually need some sort of supplements. I usually need to tweak my sleep hygiene routine when I'm in moderate distress. In moderate distress, I'm probably also not working out to the extent that I normally would work out. So I give myself a little bit more grace in those times. So that's kind of a rough idea what my moderate distress coping plan looks like. My crisis coping plan is a whole nother ballgame. I'm not sleeping about 7.5 hours of sleep anymore. Now I'm usually needing close to 10. So I'm sleeping, anywhere from 10 hours at night, or I'll do like maybe 7, 8 hours during the day and then take a nap. I'm getting some extra sleep in. I notice that when I'm in crisis, my body just physically needs more rest. It just needs more rest. I also noticed that that's a time that I'm usually not able to cook. And I love cooking. I love to cook for my family. That's a time where I'm like, okay, I'm ordering more things. And so when I'm ordering, I'm more conscious of nutrient dense meals because I know that my body desperately needs those things to be able to recover. I also noticed that my movement has shifted. Instead of doing as many walks, I'm probably doing shorter walks with my poor little dog. I'm also noticing that instead of maybe weight training, what I'm doing is probably some stretching, some very gentle stretch, but that feels more restorative to my body. So, and again, these are just things that I know for my body what I need to do. When I was diagnosed with autoimmune disorder, I actually, um, I was actually in my moderate distress plan, and I actually thought I was doing really well. Um, so I've been told since then that apparently I have a high tolerance for pain. But I felt like I was doing really well. I'm just like, I don't know why, but in the evenings about 5 o'clock, I just go to sleep. So I don't know what's going on with me. But so in addition to just your own mental health and your own inner way of kind of knowing what you need, sometimes one of the things that might be really helpful is just to make sure that you have a really good medical team around you. Who is your medical team? Who is there helping you? Who is there that's able to kind of see what's going on for you? Listening to them, listening to the data that they provide. Don't only take the data that you have in and of yourself. Um, that was highly valuable to me, and honestly, it saved my life. I would not be here today if it was not for my medical team, and so I'm highly grateful for them. So, also listening to your social support. I've noticed that my kids are like, "Hey, are you doing okay? How's your energy? You're tired, but are you the good kind of tired?" Like, I'm noticing these things that are inside of me, but also noticing those things that are outside of me. And so this video is hopefully it's a wake-up call for some of those others out there who are in the process of relearning their bodies. And hopefully this is also a call for you to have a little bit more grace for yourself as I'm finding more grace for myself. So, but I wish you well and hope to see you next time.